Welcome back to the Under the Roof podcast, your favorite roofer's favorite roofing podcast. Today, we're very excited to have our first official guest with us today. We have Mr. Dan Harris. He is the VP of Sales and Marketing for Ludowici Roof Tile. Dan has an extensive background and experience with high-level strategy, sales, and marketing. Been with Ludowici coming up on 7 years now. And, Dan, I got to say, every time I look at a Ludowici project, I'm always blown away by the level of craftsmanship and just beauty, like we were discussing before, of the job. So excited to have you on and kind of learn a little bit more about Ludowici straight from the source.
Exactly. Well, it's the reason I'm there. I was excited when I had an opportunity to work with them and build out their marketing materials, their promotional materials, their marketing strategies and plans, as they were transitioning from an old school manufacturer to a luxury brand. Yeah. So it was the imagery that you see, the tiles, the history is just an incredible feat of 138 years of people putting tile on roofs. Yeah. It's amazing.
That's incredible. I know we were talking a little bit, before the show, how they've been around for a very long time, had a really high-end premium product. Mm-hmm. And then when you came on board, you helped kind of, shed light and bring light to that premium brand and really show it off to, everybody in the industry with all the beautiful photos and projects that you guys have done over those past 100+ years.
Yeah, more than that, it's understanding who the audience is, right? So when we're working with customers, the customer could be an architect that's 2 years out on a project or 3 years out on a project. It could be the homeowner, or it could be a facility manager on a campus. It could be the maintenance team on a government building, or an entire military complex, right, with the tiles that are on the buildings. So each member of that audience that is a customer requires a little bit of a different message. They care about different things. And so that initial conversation early on around the brand was, number one, who are their customers, kind of what their personas are, what do they care about, and then to be able to craft the messaging so that it's global and universal, but also there's an ability to go down into more detail specific to the customer. Right. So that's happened over really the last probably 10 years. Okay. As we learn, because we learn by listening to the customer, presenting this information in different ways, and seeing what resonates. Yeah. And I think the other part of this too is the brand itself had to evolve, right? It was looking old, and it was interesting to take a look at competitors in the market because they were copying the same color schemes and trying to mimic what Ludowici did.
It's a good sign.
It was a good sign. It was a real good sign. And so when we shifted from darks to whites, it became clean, right? And that's what we wanted everybody to reference with Ludowici. It's a premier brand. It's very clean. The opportunity to take color in all the various ways and have it lay up against a brand, it doesn't take away from the brand. It really lifts it up. So as you put the imagery against the white, the pewter, and the lighter gray, it just sings.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, maybe, Dan, you could take a couple of minutes and talk about the history of Ludowici, how it started, and maybe how it has evolved over time, and then maybe segue into some of the things that are currently happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's centuries old, right? It's a Ludowici family. So originally in Italy, they were in the manufacturing of clay making tools and equipment. And they were also manufacturing cladding back in the day, roofing back in the day, quarry tile back in the day. Again, what ended up happening was the family members moved to Germany, okay? And Carl Ludowici was kind of the primary guy that we kind of referenced back to that time. When he moved to Germany, he had patents on clay manufacturing equipment, extruders and cutters and those type of things. But he also, to manufacture those things, he had to make the tile. So in Germany, they started making terracotta tiles, and they patented tiles and things of that nature. So the sons, Wilhelm, was also very, very involved in the business. And what's interesting about this podcast is taking place in Chicago. In the World's Fair in the 1890s, You heard about the White City, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Burnham and the architects and things like that, they were very, very influential in what was going on in not only that event, but in the city as it was starting to be built. So
Wow.
Ludowici supplied the roof tile for the German building that was in the complex of the fair. And then in Alfred, New York, there's a company called Celadon, right? And Celadon supplied a lot of the tile, connoisseur tile, and some of those tiles that were on some of these buildings too that were built and disassembled, after the World's Fair.
Yeah.
But it gave architects, it gave building owners a chance to see what this beautiful material looked like, right? So Wilhelm and team made trips over here for the World's Fair to see their product, start to interact in the market and understand in the late 1800s, is there a market to import tile?
That was their first kind of showing here in the States, was the World Fair in Chicago.
Exactly.
That's so amazing because all of the beautiful architecture and little nuances in Chicago. I read that book, The Devil in the White City.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is how I have knowledge of all that. But to bring that full circle is really, really cool.
Yeah, it is. And you can search, Ludowici Tile, Chicago, and start to do some of that history look yourself. But that German building was kind of their pride and joy. So if you think about trade shows today, that was their trade show.
Okay.
To try to influence it.
The original trade show at the World.
Yeah. And so Mr. Babcock was the founder of Celadon in Alfred, New York. And so there was a tile factory there, great shale and fire clay in that part of the country as well. And so they were manufacturing in the U.S. and they were competitors early on.
Okay.
The big thing about Alfred was they made great tile, beautiful tile, but they were very slow. And they were shipping out maybe a carload a day. Because of Ludowici's background in machinery and equipment, they were able to come over here and establish factories in the U.S. and be able to produce more tile than Celadon could. So from 1888 to about 1906, they were competitors. And then the two joined forces, and it became Ludowici Celadon. So if you look on the back of a tile that's from the 1800s up through probably 1930s and 40s, you're going to see that Ludowici Celadon stamp on the back.
Very cool.
And everybody goes, do you still make this? Well, we make a Ludowici tile that's similar, but it's now Ludowici. So that part of the history is very rich. And if you think about 1800s through the 1950s, a lot happened, right? Multiple world wars. You had building materials change, right? You had technology being added. So tile became less and less a percentage of what was being installed, right? As people were coming back from the war, they were building homes that were not able to support the weight of the tile and things like that. But the other thing that happened was the government got involved and started building the large government buildings all across the country, courthouses, churches, military complexes, college and universities. And why that's such an important part of the history is they were looking for material that would last. They could put it on and not have to replace it for 100 years, right? So as a facility owner, a building manager, that's the way to go back then. And so what is today? The 2026, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad it's not 1926. I wouldn't be here.
A little different.
Time change.
Time change. Woo. Time work. But 2026, if you go back 100 years, it was 1926.
Yeah.
So what was happening in the 20s, in the 30s? The Gilded Age, right? So you had the new money, the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers, and they were building their massive buildings in Newport, Asheville, Carnegie Libraries in Chicago and all over this part of the country, right? They were getting Ludowici tile because of the sales efforts of the Ludowici team back in the day. And the office, again, another Chicago fact, is the office for the headquarters for Ludowici was on
Michigan Avenue.
Michigan Avenue, 105.
Okay.
Michigan Avenue.
I passed by there a lot of times.
It's a Kitzker Museum.
Pritzker
Museum right now. And it's got a beautiful French tile.
T1.
T1. Okay, T1 French.
Oh, you know the exact.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, he was probably
yes,
involved
I
in
do.
that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So I wasn't a part of the project back then, but Rob was, and mentioned crawling on the roof and experiencing what that was like and things. And And it's funny because it's so tall, high up in the air, you can't really see it unless you're far enough away, maybe over in the park, and look back at it. It's just,
Okay.
it's a stunning example of how to set off that stone architecture of those particular buildings.
I mean, Ludowici clay tile has to be one of the most like long-lasting historic components of like the building materials and envelope in the country. Like I'm trying to think of another product that probably would be date that far back in our history. There's probably only a handful, I would say, within our space, especially obviously in the roofing, space.
Yeah, certainly in the roofing and end of things. I did want to just mention, talking about history and longevity and owners wanting to have many year life expectancy out of tiles and out of building materials. We were working on that project down at University of Illinois, and Dan was very helpful in that particular project as well. It's a large project. Altgeld Hall is one of the more iconic buildings for University of Illinois, and they wanted to re-roof it. It had been originally done in the early 1900s. They had used Celadon tile on that material in the Cotta product. And they approached me and explained the program that they were looking at. And we said, well, let's test this tile and really see what kind of performance we can expect to see out of it, and maybe get an idea, a vision of how much longer it's going to last up on that building, because it's a very tall building, and we wanted to be mindful of the expenditure of monies to repair it and to re-roof it. We tested the tile, and it came back performing as well today and under current ASTM standards that we produce now.
This is from 100 years ago?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Correct.
And it's in a zone in the country where there's a lot of moisture,
Sure.
a lot of freeze-thaw, right, and those type of things, and it held up over time. So
what a cool proof source.
It is.
Yeah,
It
that's
really
actually
is.
where I'm from as well. I'm right outside of Champaign, Urbana area, so that's hits close to home. It's
Well,
neat.
the thing I love about Ludowici is the history of the buildings and their purpose, right? So it's a bell tower, and it's stunning, and you start to look at the use of the building and how it was used over the years and how iconic it is to the university, how they market it as a part of their campus and things like that.
It's in all the marketing and photos. I mean, I see it in my mind as you guys say it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing when we're talking with universities. It's like people come to a college, they pick a college because of how they feel walking on the campus, right? Do they get that feeling of legacy? Do they get that feeling of a long-standing institution of high quality, right, and things like that? So, crowning it with a Ludowici tile and the right building materials really helps universities kind of create that experience for their students. The students may not even know it, but they get a feel for, I want to learn here.
Yeah. It's so neat. I think what's so cool about, because, John, you really head up our team on the Ludowici standpoint. So whenever I see the projects that you're working on and doing, each one's different. Each one's unique. Each one's creative. And it's not your typical day in, day out. Right. You get to be really creative with, the architects and the contractors and the end user of creating a vision really curated to exactly what they want. It's not just a roofing shingle or this or that. Like, it is a designed piece of art and performance, and it's just neat. Made right here. I mean, it's just a cool thing.
It's funny. I was just on a job site. We were doing a mock-up for one of our clients that had been to the factory.
Okay.
And he had decided to bring his family down to the factory, tour the factory, and he came back and he was committed to using our material on it.
Wow.
And we had just got done doing the mock-up for him, and it was interesting the color schemes that he was looking at. So he made several different mock-ups for him, and we had a little bit of material left over from the mock-up area. And he's out there with his kids messing around with the mock-up, seeing the different percentages and seeing what looked good and what didn't look good. It was actually kind of fun to see that hands-on kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And going to the factory is an extraordinary experience to see how the material is made, how it is created. it's just really one of those tours that are well worth the effort to get down there and see how that material is made.
I agree. I encourage everybody to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're buying a roof or not, I mean, it's a total experience. It's a 138-year-old factory. It's been continuous operation, right? It's got 10 buildings on the National Registry, still cranking out beautiful tile. I think the other thing that's important, going back to a little bit about the brand and how we grew the brand over time, the brand, when you say it's about the buildings and the roof, it really, you can back that down. It's about the designers and the architects who design these beautiful buildings, the color selections that they and their homeowners or building owners choose, and then the factory being able to produce it and glaze it to match the expectation of the roofer. So there's craftsmen who manufacture it by hand in many cases. There are also artists who glaze it, manually work on a lot of these things, whether it's hand packed or trimmed or slip cast. And then the other part of this is the roofer, right? The roofer is so essential because they are the artist on the roof, right? Think about paint by numbers. That's what they're doing with these tiles. There's a blend in every single color.
Right.
Right.
They can't just slap it on there. There has to be strategy and purpose.
Strategy, purpose, and design. So there has to be somebody with an eye to be able to look at that roof as they're loading it and laying the tile out and making sure there's no hot spots, those type of things. Right. And if you're working with a complicated layout in the field tile, running into a valley, running into a turret, those type of things, it's essential that you do that in a way that it's seamless when it's all said and done. And the other part I think is challenging for the roofers that do this is when you look at tile on a roof, any given time of day, it can change color, right? How the shape creates a shadow, how the sun reflects off of one part of the roof to the next and in the shade. So 24 hours a day, that roof is getting some kind of light and it changes. And that I think that's the other thing as I talk to architects and designers who have these buildings, they truly want to see that natural material and what it can be through that process. So it's artistry from the design perspective, it's artistry and craftsmen in the factory, and it's true artistry in the layout and design and construction of the roof.
At every phase of it.
Performing over time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's the element that is sometimes missed in all this, right? You have this beautiful roof that's up there, and it's going to last for generation and go through time, and it's not going to be some, cookie cutter type of, look. Yeah. It's going to be really bespoke.
Yeah, so most things nowadays aren't made to last. They're, whatever it might be. It could be a refrigerator. It could be a TV. You're going to get a year or 2 or 3 out of them. Yeah. And then, you just buy another one, right? And I think they're made that way versus something that is made by hand, that is really purposely designed and created, and it's going to last, like you said, generations. That's not the norm anymore. It's not the norm in probably the building materials, world in a lot of, cases. I mean, even warranties, right? Most warranties in our world are 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 max I've ever really seen. And we're surpassing that at Ludowici by quite a bit. And that's just so rare. I mean, in my background, I've never heard of materials lasting as long as Ludowici clay tile. So it's just, I don't know, it always kind of shocks me and stands out in a very positive way.
And the thing is we offer a 75-year warranty on the performance of the material. But I can show you literally hundreds of buildings that have lasted longer than that 75 years. And the color retention is there. The performance of the material is there. It has gone through storms. It has gone through snow. It has gone through ice. It has gone through all of the elements that you would experience in 75 years and still performing today. I mean, it is really a very remarkable type product.
When you talk about, previous companies I've been with, especially in the, the asphalt shingle side of things that I've been with previously, you have the terms limited lifetime warranty, right? And usually those go up to a 50-year limited lifetime warranty, but it's kind of saying, hey, like for the lifetime of you being in this home, and this roof's going to last, but it's not necessarily the truth. When you're talking about a product that is lasting, like at the University of Illinois for 100+ years, you're talking about the entirety, truly, of a person's life.
Oh, yeah.
75 to 100 years, you're talking about a lifetime. That's truly like a lifetime. That's really, it's just, once again, it takes it away from being marketing fluff to being real product performance, which once again, I don't think is the norm always in our space. So it's refreshing.
Well, I think the interesting thing for people who are passionate about this particular product and this company realize that, right? They know that if I'm working on a project today, it's installed, it's going to be there way longer than I will be there. My kids' will be able to look back and see that and say, hey, my dad worked on that, right? Which is incredible. Right?
Yeah.
And I think the other part of this brand work that we're doing is to encourage our factory team, right? They're multi-generations of families that work on the line, that do the plaster making, the building of the carpentry shop and all the things that they're building. And so getting them the ability to see these images. So we installed a big giant TV screen in multiple places within the factory, and we rotate some of these projects.
I love that. I love that.
It's been such a good thing to do, right? So we're trying to get them more in tune, not only with the piece by piece work that they do, but where it ends up, right? And so we do training sessions with them. And then on the tour, as John said, it's a fabulous tour. They get to actually meet the people who are putting these buildings together, homeowners who are putting them on the roof, and they're getting to share the craft of what they do, in some cases by trimming or glazing or spraying or hand packing, in the realm of what their tile will become.
Sure.
So it's
on
incredible.
the end project.
Yeah, and it's that the 75-year warranty, we get to ask that question. So it lasts 75 years. I go, no, it as John said, it can last 100, 125 years. The challenge is it's the roof deck and the underlayment and the flashing, everything underneath of it.
Yeah.
So as technology's evolved, obviously there's better underlayments and opportunities to be able to get that extended life.
Sure.
But you're paying a premium for the product. It's going to last, right? And there's opportunities depending on how it's fastened or installed on the roof to be able to lift and relay, right? And then there's also the opportunity here to get an entirely brand new roof that looks just like the roof that was manufactured, 100 years ago, because it's made out of clay. As long as we have a pattern, we have a mold, we have something to work with, we can recreate it. And so the advantages now for us compared to the past is if there was a competitor, say B. Mifflin Hood or Heinz Tile or somebody that made a tile back, or Celadon that made a tile back in the day, if we have a piece of it, we can remake it.
How cool.
So that's the beauty of this, right? And
you could bring the past back to life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the ability to take something that somebody designed and wanted 100 years ago and recreate it and put it on a building. And we just finished a project in Galveston, Texas. Nicholas Clayton was the architect, and it was on a railroad magnate's home in Galveston. And it had none of the tile had been replaced. It had been repaired and maintained over the years. And they decided to raise money and actually have the whole building re-roofed. So none of the tile was ours. It was all shipped in from Europe. It was smaller tile than what we make. It was larger scale pieces than what we make. There was some crazy gargoyles and large dragons and things like that. So we had to go compete against other manufacturers to try to make it, which are very few. And so we ended up winning this project, and it took us over 2.5 years to be able to do all the patterns, the molds, and do the things that we needed to do to deliver that project to them just in the last couple months.
What I love is usually when you're trying to recreate something from the past, right? A lot of times you're not going to use the same materials or process. You're going to have let's call it a synthetic version of something from the past.
Right.
You're bringing truly the past back in regards to the same material, maybe from the same, in some instances, clay deposit and this and that, and you're the same design, the same process, maybe a little bit more advanced now of creating it. It's not a fake version of it. It's actually it that is being reimagined and recreated in real time.
Exactly. And not only the shape, but you talked about color a little bit, right? So when you are mining clay, you're mining it usually in a 5 to 7 mile radius of where your factory is placed, right? And over the years, Ludowici had 6 different factories across the country with their own mines that they would harvest and actually produce the material. So every clay deposit's different. The iron material, the metals, the chromes, whatever is in that, it's different, right? So Ludowici, over 138 years, has had to go back in time not only to reproduce what was made in New Lexington, Ohio, but from the other factories and from our competitors. And one of the things that happens when you move a mine is color might change, right? So when you're mixing the clay bodies, you will end up getting a fired color that might be lighter, darker, redder, oranger, brown. And so if you're trying to replace a historic building or a preservation project, they want it to look like it looked. You have to go back in time with color. And the only way you could do that now is with glaze. So you can glaze back in time.
Wow.
You know, which is really pretty cool. And that's why it's so important when we're working on these types of projects, or really any project that has a color associated with it, to be able to get the samples in, look at them under an LAB monitor and identify the colors, and then work to achieve that color, whether that's through a natural clay body where we just fire it, or it needs the necessary minerals and frits and stains to get back to the color that was there. That all happens in the lab.
Wow. John, I know we were on a project, or we were at a meeting, and you were looking at a Frank Lloyd Wright building. And in some of the photos, in like a back in a shed, there was some leftover clay tiles, and you were able to look at it and say, oh, I bet those were maybe potentially originals. If we can get some sample of those and check those out, we could potentially identify what they were, where they're from, and then
Actually,
from there.
yeah, it's 2-second story on this. It's actually a great story.
Yeah.
So it's a Frank Lloyd Wright project that we're currently discussing, and we had supplied the material on that project back in 1930s and then again in 1950s. And we were actually able to go back into the factory. Sometimes this happens. Sometimes, not always. We were actually able to find the order that was original from 1930. And then, which is even more extraordinary, is when I was up there rooting around looking for samples to send back to the factory for identification and color, et cetera, I flipped over a couple of tiles, and sure enough, there's the order number on the back of the tile that coordinated with the order that I had in my hands, and it had the date that it was manufactured.
How cool!
It really, honestly, this product is so different and so emotive to sell. It really is difficult to explain.
It is.
I mean, I say that to my clients, and they look at me like I'm crazy, but it is something extraordinary to go back, have the order, have a tile with the order number on it, and then look at a drawing that was archived at Columbia University that actually was our drawing about the roof. And then we're hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to do it again. And it's so important to me personally, because I know that in 100 years, when people are walking around that facility, that they'll look up and they'll see our tile on there, and we were part of that. And it's a lot of fun.
It took me a minute to connect with it and fully understand. Honestly, it really did, because everything's so go and transactional, and sometimes it's hard to look for an order number from a year ago, and you're talking about 100 years ago, and you could still find the record, and it's on the tile, and you could redo that job from 100. I mean, it's amazing. I can't imagine there's many, once again, products that or companies that can date that far back and say, hey, we still have this original.
Yeah.
It really is incredible.
Well, and the sad thing is we had multiple factories, and I think all but 2 burnt down to the ground. So all the records were gone. Yeah. So in New Lexington, we have about 50,000 handwritten order cards. And that's what John was talking about. They're handwritten by the person who was the salesperson of that particular time and era, and they're in a card catalog, just like at a library.
Wow.
So, and they're all coded and everything. And now we have a digital search to be able to find it. But I wish we had everything we have back in the day, but it's just not possible.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're guessing. That's why it's a little bit challenging if you're getting into a project and we don't have a record of it. We can't get a piece of the tile. There's some limitations about what we can do, because it's not just about identifying it. We have to understand how we're going to make it or remake it, right? And when you look at a piece of tile, you see the flat piece and you see the exposed area and stuff like that. But there's so many intricate things. There's lugs, holes are off center in some cases, locking mechanisms, ribs on the back. All those things are a key component to lay up the roof and have it shed the water.
The functionality,
the
actually.
functionality
You
of
have
it.
the looks, but then you have the actual functionality.
Yeah, and like I said, the multiple factories had multiple people doing hand drawings back then to be able to give off to production to figure out, I'm going to run this on the ram press, or I'm going to run this on the crown press, or I have to hand pack this, and those type of things. So the ability of our factory to do that is amazing to me, because it's not set up in a structure where it's going to produce a commodity one over.
It's not a straight line.
Right.
No, there's no straight line, and there's equipment and cutters and dies that all have to be attached to a piece of equipment to produce something totally different from one day to the next.
Yeah.
Right. And the setup of that it's amazing to watch. It takes time, it takes effort. And then you have to have people who know how to do that, number one, which are, again, they're mechanics, mechanical engineers, and artists in their own realm.
Sure.
And then you have to have the people who can run it and make sure that it's running at a quality level that's going to end up being a result that ends up going on a building like Frank Lloyd Wright's buildings.
Yeah.
And
we're not talking about the average,
no,
building and structure. We're talking about some of the most historical buildings in the country that the product's going on.
And don't get me wrong, they're standard products and standard materials, but again, they're all made to order.
Yeah.
So that's what I keep telling people. Yeah, we can make all these standard pieces and standard colors, but every roof is different. It's not a cookie cutter type of system, right? Valleys are different, windows structures are different, eaves are different, valleys are different. So when you're selling this and working with customers, that's a special thing, right? Because it's truly theirs.
Yeah.
And this tile will truly be theirs because they've designed it. It's going to be installed by the craftsmen and artisans on the roof, and the end result's going to be amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It is interesting. We do go from the ultra high-end home that's very specialized and very bespoke to bungalows in Berwyn. I mean, you could go down a Berwyn and drive down, Central Avenue and see our tile on any number of bungalows in the city that have, again, withstood the test of time.
Yeah.
So we do really fancy things and really do a lot of fun, bespoke things. But we also can do normal, everyday things.
Yeah.
But to your point, every roof is a bit different, and it is something that we get very involved with to make sure that the material is going to meet the needs of the customer, meet the needs of the roof, and get them situated properly.
Yeah.
That really is important, that we fit our product to those needs appropriately. Yeah.
Depending on what the project is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting. You go to St. Louis, and they had the World's Fair there, and the pavilions all have tile on them, right? So even a pavilion where people gather in the community are there. Horse stables. I mean, it's amazing. People have this idea of wanting to elevate their property and even their stables,
Sure.
where they have their horses and care for their horses is covered in an incredibly beautiful tile.
Sure.
Yeah.
Probably look around, every part of the country
Oh, yeah.
and see, something that Ludowici has touched, from a home like you mentioned to a cool landmark project, and that's neat.
Yeah. I mean, if you are a traveler and love to go to the cities, I mean, you once you understand the product and you know what it looks like, you can identify it. Right? There's a Ludowici roof. Right?
Have you done the Chicago architecture tour?
I have.
Have you seen any of?
Absolutely.
Yes. Is that
Absolutely.
probably a neat experience?
Yeah. I mean, because of that World's Fair and because of the architects who are involved, I mean, just walking University of Chicago, it's unbelievable, right? And I use that as an example of Barry O'Quinn at the time, right? Was involved and raised the money to be able to redo those roofs. He standardized on color and he standardized on profile, and they were able to do many of the buildings there on that campus. And having the opportunity to go up in the tower and actually look out over the campus and see it was phenomenal.
I can't even imagine. That'd be so cool.
But the thing is, there's also a project in Maui called 9 Bay or Cliff House. It's a classic tile, just like exactly what's on that, classical architecture, but it looks completely modern with the blue gloss glaze. It's the same exact tile, but with different color, and applied in a more modern application versus, a Gothic application.
Okay.
Yeah.
How cool.
The flexibility of it, the versatility of it, the durability of it, the sustainability of it. I mean, it's. I don't know. I'm getting more excited even talking about it right now.
No, I mean, I love talking about this. So, what would you say? You guys have both been, in the space for quite a while. What are some common misconceptions about clay tile, about Ludowici? Is there anything that really stands out?
The big one. Yeah, the big one is, and it's so funny. I'll be on a plane and you talk to people and they say, "So what do you do?" I go, I'm VP of Sales and Marketing for a clay tile manufacturer. All that Spanish stuff down in Florida, I'm like, well, yes, but also flat tile and shingle tile and interlocking tile. What? So mission and barrel tile, that's what people think about when they think about clay or terracotta. So it's an eye-opener for some people. And then when you show them the images, they think it's either a wood shake or they think it's maybe slate. They don't realize that, again, clay can be manipulated and formed in a variety of different ways to be able to create a look and feel. Right. And so the ability to score a piece of clay, glaze it with specific mist and a base color, and then apply a standard stamp that looks like wood bark, right? You can do all that with clay because it accepts it, right?
I guess when you break it down to at that level and you think about actual clay and the process of it, and you think about people who are doing projects, molding clay and art, they're able to mold it into whatever in the world, they want. So then you just have to think about that for roofing. And, I think that, Spanish style is so maybe popular or well-known and maybe photographed, but then now you see the projects and exactly like you said, I mean, you can't distinguish the difference between like a wood shake versus the clay, even though it's a completely different, product, but you could design it to make it look that, similar.
Yeah. And it's got dynamics, right, that are pretty important. We talked about the warranty at 75 years. That also includes a color fast warranty, right? So let's take wood, for example. You put wood on a roof, immediately it's gorgeous.
Sure.
It's white cedar. White cedar is going to turn gray.
Sure.
Right? It's going to fade over time. It's going to crack and spaw. It's split, those type of things. Even slate, right? Unless you have unfading slate or things of that nature, that's quarried, and the quarried is the color. There's nothing applied to it. So to be able to translate a wood shake and a slate through forming methods, scoring methods, and then glazing to create something that's color fast for 100 plus years is phenomenal, right? And it outperforms even other natural materials.
Yeah.
We were involved on a project up in Wisconsin where it was an elementary school, and the school had graduated slate on the roof, and they were it was an iconic building of the community, so they really wanted to keep that look. They looked at real slate and real graduated, and unfortunately it was a bit too expensive for them. And so they decided that they wanted to look at some alternatives. And we ended up showing them one of our products, the Ludo Slate product line, in a particular color mix. And people who are unfamiliar with the site, or maybe they're just driving down the road or whatever, they think that it's still the same slate that's up there.
Sure.
Because it looks the same. I mean, the coloration, the performance of the material, the thickness of the material, it looks like a graduated slate project. Yeah. It's really, really cool project that actually Langer Roofing up in Wisconsin did that project for us, and they did an extraordinary job for us.
And John's a great tour guide, because I got to actually go up and walk around the building and take photographs. And, yeah, it's when it's a school.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful when you're taking pictures around a school and
Sure.
stuff. So we were strategically walking around trying to get the best angles.
Yeah.
Again, the sun coming up at different times.
Sure.
To be able to get the best shots. But it's a fun part of the job. It really is to create something like that and have people drive by it and not even know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it is.
But that's also the bad part about it. We want them to know.
Sure. Well, you guys are doing a good job with that, with all the beautiful photos and the galleries. Like, I mean, whoever is, taking those photos and then, you bringing them to life, I mean, they look amazing. It really shows you the quality and also the different details and the alterations and design modifications you could do. And some of them look like they're rolling or like a wave, and there's so much you could do. Yeah, that's right.
Well, I think it's important, and we're going to invest more in the coming year. And I've talked to John about this too. We want to have local architectural photographers participate in helping us get more. There's so many buildings that we're doing.
Sure.
It's 12 to 1,400 buildings a year. And they're in various stages of completion, and we want to get them when the landscaping's done and at the right time of day. So we need an army of photographers, really. But the other part of this too is architects, right? They want to showcase these projects
that they did,
yeah. So even working with the architects to say, hey, you're probably going to get this photographed. Can we work with you to get the rights to it and things like that? So we're in this mission now to try to build out the next series of photographs for the regions, and then to be able to put together another lookbook. Because those lookbooks truly tell the story. Not only in words, but also in imagery.
But it is interesting too, the market. We do have a number of different marketing pieces that Dan has put together, focusing on golf courses, and country clubs. And the number of country clubs and golf courses that we've done, it really is amazing.
It's staggering.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, just here in Chicago, in the Chicago area, Chicago Golf has got our tile on it. Medina has our tile on it. Owensia Country Club up in Lake Forest has our material on it. And those are just three that pop into my head. But I know that there's
iconic.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And then we have another brochure that focuses on colleges and universities and goes through the number of colleges and universities that we have. Not only University of Chicago, but University of Illinois, Millikan, Wisconsin has it. Purdue has it down there in Lafayette.
Notre Dame,
Indiana, Notre Dame has a couple
Princeton, Harvard, Yale.
Actually, a really interesting project. Actually, Dan, you got to talk about this. Is Yale University and the tile that is at Yale. If you could take a couple of seconds.
Oh, absolutely. Again, it goes back to those are Gothic buildings from back in the day, and they mirrored what was happening over in Europe, right? So they wanted to translate that Ivy League look and feel. So the stonework and everything was a part of that process. And in those particular projects, what they were looking for is more like a thicker slate, right? And so when you order thicker slate, it's all quarried and cut and those type of things. But we were able to take tile, a thicker tile, like a Cotswold tile, run it through the factory, and then actually hand chip it to give it that look and feel.
Wow.
And then there were multiple thicknesses. So as it went up the roof, you got larger exposure and smaller tile going up to be able to create that. And then they did this beautiful valley. It's called a canoe valley, where it had to be kind of scanned and measurements taken and things like that. But the tile worked its way in from the field into the valley and created this beautiful seamless valley that is shedding water because of how it's being coursed and laid out, and the headlaps are placed. But when you look at it, it's seamless.
Wow.
Right? You can't see the copper underneath of it. You can't see an underlayment underneath of it. It's seamless. I mean, it's stunning. And then Duke, same kind of concept there on those buildings.
Yeah.
So they each have their unique and special approach to how they want those buildings to look.
And it's very specific.
Very
like
specific.
They want it. It's important that it's this detailed and it's this perfect.
And you have, I mean, Princeton's another example, right? They have the older buildings, but they're building new dormitories, right? And so they were using the interlocking Ludo slate on the roof. And so in the conversations of design, they go, well, could we use this same material for cladding on the building? So if you look at those buildings, those dormitories, they're roofed with Ludowici and they're cladded with Ludowici.
Huh.
And they've changed the color. They designed it in blocks to work with the metal windows and the frames and the structure. And it's stunning. So you can see old Ludowici and you can see modern Ludowici all on one campus.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love how customizable it really seems that it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they could like, hey, we have this vision. Help us bring it to life.
And it goes back to knocking out misconceptions and creating opportunities so people are aware that it can be used that way.
Right.
Right. You know, the cladding is fairly new for us, probably within the last 10, 12 years, but it's small format. It's got a couple of different options, but you have all the colors, 58 colors you can work with. You can do custom colors.
Yeah.
And we just finished a project in Dayton. It's the Ronald McDonald House.
Oh.
And same kind of a concept. I want a roof with this, and I want to have the same material, but in a different color on the cladding side to mimic kind of the McDonald's theme. And it's stunning.
Yeah.
They used an antique pewter tile on the roof, and it just shimmers.
Wow.
It's beautiful. So, there's a lot of ways to shape, form, and make the tile, and there's a lot of ways it can be applied in the various opportunities.
I think, it's interesting because I would imagine as a company, right, been around for a long time and it was all done by hand, hundreds of years ago, but you probably could have gotten away from that, and made it more cookie cutter, right? And still been successful, but as a company still giving the end user and these architects and these builders the opportunity to, you want it to be done this certain way? Oh, we could hand chip it and we could do these things to really give you what you want rather than, just doing that cookie cutter approach. Because you as a company, Ludowici could have done that probably and still been successful. But no, we want to keep the integrity of what this product is and what the company is and keep that history going.
Well, and it's, as I mentioned before, clay tile, the market shrunk as asphalt shingles came into play, other building materials, metals and things like that. So part of the strategy is to maintain a made-to-order approach. It's also to be able to work with designers to create what they want from a standpoint of design and color and shape and profile, and then also to pay homage to the Frank Lloyd Wrights, the Maybecks, the Claytons, who had different ideas on what a roof should look like, right? So the Elsa, Illinois Principia College, right? It was a Maybach gem, right? I got a chance to walk on that. I mean, he had buildings that looked like they were pulled up, lifted out of England and brought over in these cottage styles. And he specifically designed the roof to have warping, to have slushing, so that it looked old and fit with the particular exteriors of the building. So if that was a typical roofing manufacturer, they would not be able to repeat what Maybach designed and thought was perfect, or Frank Lloyd Wright thought was perfect, or Clayton in his desire to create those. So I think that heritage and history is a big part of it, but for us, it's a differentiator. So when we're competing against other natural materials, the opportunity to take an architect, a designer, and a building owner through the process of how to create their specific look and feel is a joy, right? And they get so involved in it, and then they're committed to it, and then they become, I don't know, roof snobs, right? It's like, I got to have this on my roof, and then when I do the next one, I want to use it again. And I think that's the there's a passion that goes along with it when you know about it and you care about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that comes across in how we recruit people to sell it, and how we try to market it too, is that we're not selling something that's typical. It's totally unique, totally different. And if you have an idea, we can hopefully make it happen. There's some limitations, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I mean, the way the factories were built back in the day with larger kilns and bigger scalable type of manufacturing options, we've had to reduce some of those things and work within the presses that we have today. In some cases, because it wasn't safe. You know, the equipment was too large and it was a safety hazard.
Less safety restrictions back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, it was kind of anything goes.
Starting in the 60s all the way through to today, safety is a huge concern, right?
Yeah.
What can somebody lift?
Yeah.
Those type of things. But the factory in and of itself, if you come, there's so many parts and pieces and components for the lines. They're all over the place, right? Patterns, molds, saddles, dies. They're scattered all over. And for any one roof, you might need 5 or 6 of those on one line. And then the next day you're taking it all apart and you're putting something else together.
Wow.
Right. So it's a fascinating process to watch.
Something new every day too, I would imagine for the.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I mean, the challenge of production is, okay, we have, like I said, 12 to 1,400 projects a year. Those are going to run through the factory, and you keep getting 90 to 100 more per month coming in. And you have to look at it and say, okay, well, in the next 6 months, we have, thousands and thousands of pieces of Ludo shake. And they're all in different colors, and some of them have 3 pieces, some of them have standard 1 piece, right? How do I run those all and then change out the color to match it, and then get it through the kiln and fired and packed and on the yard ready to ship?
I would imagine you have a very, very smart plant manager.
Yeah, a team.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
it takes a team, and then the shipping is also important too, because they're storing it and things like that, and we have to get it off the yard and into the job site.
Yeah,
and it's all critical, but it all starts with you guys as the reps, setting the expectations, working with the customers. Laying out, what the projects look like, and continuing to communicate, with the factory, with the technical team, with the production team, and with senior management like myself.
Yeah.
I did want to talk a few minutes about, we have this legacy of history of how we made materials, but we're also utilizing current technology on the execution and helping us to better serve our clients. Particularly if we were doing domes or cones or asps or things like that, we're able to actually laser scan those so we actually get proper measurements. So the tiles that are fabricated will fit appropriately. The technical department does that, does a terrific job of managing all of that for us. The other thing that has that I've noticed that was very useful for me on Altgeld Hall was the use of 3D printing. We were actually able to 3D print some half-size tiles with some different configurations so that the architect could put them on the mock-up and see how they fit together and then make a decision as to what really they wanted.
Yes.
So instead of having to make the tile, make the forms, make the molds, make the tile, and then send it out, we were actually able to expedite that process very quickly. And, architects are generally a very visual type of client. So them actually able to look at it from different angles to make sure it was exactly what they wanted was very, very helpful.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You're turning the intangible into a tangible thing they can actually put in their hands and saving probably weeks and weeks of time of actually making that.
Well, and it's beneficial for the factory too, right? Because before 3D printing, everything had to be made in a plaster mold, right? You had to make a plaster piece, and it was a negative, and the negative ended up going into a die box and all those type of things. But it started with a drawing, a dimensional drawing that was then translated out to the factory to be actually made. So now we're able to speed up some of that process because we're able to take, say, for example, in Altgeld, we actually had a physical piece that was shipped in for color identification. We were able to 3D scan it, get all the dimensions and things like that, and then be able to 3D print it and use that as the pattern that went into the plaster mold. So it saved us a lot of time
in the actual production of the final product as well
as the benefit for the architect to be able to see it.
Yeah.
So those are super important, and I think you're right on the valleys, the cones, the domes, those type of things. Those are very, very important measurements, right? Because you want to get them right.
Right.
You want them to lay up correctly, especially if they're cut and close valleys, where you're not going to be using mortar or any other way to prevent the rain from getting back under there. But it's important that those are all considered and talked about early on, so you can get the contractor on the roof to dry those in, right? Because we want dried in dimensions. It's very, you guys probably know this. I mean, drawn dimensions they never end up being the true dimensions. So to take a drawing and say we're going to make the tile off a drawing, the built is not the same.
Sure.
Right. So it's got to be dried in because you want this to be a very precise course by course by course look and feel, so you don't have cutting that takes place, especially on something that's a glazed tile, right? Because once you cut into a glazed tile, you're going to see a little clay red, and people don't want that, right?
Sure.
They want it to look seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, technology has really helped speed things along in terms of helping us provide a better product to the architects.
Yeah.
I think.
It is, and we're continuing to invest in new dryer lines and new carts and the things that we can create efficiency down the line. Bob's working with his team on moving the process from what they call batch 1 by 1 making to a continuous method, so it can go down the line, be made, holes put in, textures applied, glazed, and then put on the cart, versus make a piece, move it to a cart, move it down a line, then somebody puts holes in it, move it down a line, it gets trimmed and smooth, move it down a line, and then it gets glazed, and then it moves to dried, right? That continuous process allows us to kind of scale up.
Which is going to be huge for you guys, because if you're doing that many projects and, every one of them potentially could be different, having it to be as smooth and as efficient as possible.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, okay. That's great.
Absolutely. So if there's opportunities to take something that's a complicated tile, and it's slower to make, or it has to be pressed in a certain way, it may take trials, right? We call them trials. They have to run trials down the line because it's not perfect the first time. You got to teach the whole line how to run it, how to work it, how to manipulate it, how to hold it, how to carry it, all those things. And so that process takes time. It could be 7, 10, 12 trials to get to a point where Bob feels comfortable. Yeah, next time we get this order, we can run it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is, okay, we think we got it.
Yeah.
And then you do that whole production run and it's like, oh, hey, this is off. Like, you got to really make sure that you have it, figured out.
That's it.
So that's where the trials come into play.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about customization and different things you could do and variations. We do a lot of like AIA and, continued education training, Ludowici as a company as well as, our team here. Would you say that, specifiers and architects, do they know all these nuances about clay tile typically? Are they pretty, up on the up of all these different designs and customizations you could do? Or is a lot of this like, oh wow, like we can do that on this project? What's the norm kind of in that world?
That's the norm.
Okay.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know.
Okay.
Really, those are the comments that you get when you go into a room and you actually walk through some of these CEUs. Last year, I introduced how it's made as a CEU. It's a 1-hour HSW credit, and it's basically a request from people who can't come to the tour to understand what it's like to experience it.
Sure.
But I always tell people when they take that session, this is 7 years of me walking through the factory, taking photographs of a lot of different things that have taken place. And anytime you come to the factory, you're going to see different things. So every time I walk through, there's always something new. Okay. Right? Because every roof is unique, right? So there could be a bell tower on one. There could be squirrel-like creatures going up a hip on another. I don't know what.
Or down.
Or down, up or down. But there could be dragons in one room, and there could be squirrels in another, and a falcon and an owl, and it's fascinating to be there and walk through any given day and see something new and unique. And so with this presentation, it's a encapsulation of about 7 years of me walking through the factory, taking pictures of each of the processes it takes to actually manufacture something.
Yeah.
But we don't even have, we have the how it's made CEU, but we also have color, textures, and we have a number of other CEUs that are excellent, and they're on demand.
Yeah.
So if there's an interest, hop on those, and you get the credits, and you're able to maybe gain a little bit of knowledge on the tile.
Yeah, and I always encourage people, if you're on the sessions and you're one member of an architecture firm, encourage everybody else to sign up and take them too, right?
Sure.
And then we've kind of scaled up our teams to go out in the market and do them when we can, depending on where our reps are. You can sign up and we'll send a lead to a rep, and a rep can go out and do those CEUs in person as well for lunch and learns. So there's fundamentals, which is a basic overall arching multiple profiles and process. How it's made is the factory tour on the presentation. The colors is amazing. If you're working on a project and want to understand the importance of color and how to identify it, how to specify it, it's brilliant. There's also the architectural terracotta cladding CEU that's available. So, and then we're continuing to develop more as we go, because we're listening to what the audience is asking for, and trying to build out the right materials to help educate and equip them to be able to do the specifications and work with us on those projects.
I think we had a meeting as one of the Chicago Preservation Societies, and it was texture and color. That was the topic of conversation.
Yeah.
And that was just really neat, because that's when you were matching up, some of these colors and textures from these old buildings. And you could hear when we were, speaking, I believe with one of the principals there is one of your friends, the passion in his voice as he was showing us around the office, showing us all the projects of these historic buildings that they were bringing back to life, here in Chicagoland. And it was fun for me. It was one of my first experiences really seeing that within a person, of these historic buildings and the pride, that he was expressing, talking and sharing that project with us. And then to know that, hey, a piece of this or a piece of that, from Ludowici or whatnot potentially could be on it. It's just, it's really neat.
Yeah. Well, and if you want to take it to the next level, get them to the factory and let them play with color at the factory.
Yeah.
Right. The factory of ideas. We've had customers come in and fly in building materials, window materials, stone materials, put them up in the factory of ideas, and then lay up all the various color options that they're considering and stuff like that. And then to get a tour to see how it's made, it's a huge buy-in for the architect or the building or homeowner.
Yeah, I can't wait to check out the factory myself. I haven't been yet, but definitely going to check it out. I know you really always rave about it.
Oh, it's extraordinary. Training, we have contractor training as well. Very important to keep the contractor base growing and revitalizing itself. That's one thing that's super important, I think, as some of the older folks who are familiar with Slater tile are aging out. We need to make sure that the younger folks aren't just,
At least know about it.
Shooting on the tile, shooting the tile on. So,
I mean, these older buildings aren't going away, right? The older people may, but the older buildings aren't going away. So there's going to be jobs, there's going to be opportunities, and there's been quite a few in the last couple of years, younger people coming through it and getting a feel for it, and then saying, I'm going to specialize in this, right? Because they see the beauty in it, they see their contribution to the end result as something, as a legacy. And I mean, we love it because we can show these buildings. Think about it from a contractor's perspective. Instead of doing track homes and asphalt shingles, you can say, look at the copper work on this. Look at the tile and the trim and all the things that we were able to do to create this luxurious residential home or commercial building.
Yeah, and it's going to be there, versus something that it, might change every now and again, or it fails. Generation from now, it's going to be there, and you can point back to it. Yeah, I did that, or I was a part of that.
Yeah, it's fun. We did a project here where a compound of several different homes, and the owner really wanted to have 3 different homes for his, one for him,
Okay.
and one for his kids, and one for his grandkids, and it was an entire compound.
Wow.
So it's really, the people you meet are fantastic, and the opportunities to participate in some of these projects is just really, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I'm a big golfer, and when John told me about the Medina project and about Chicago Golf Club, and I remember driving by there and looking at the green tile on the clubhouse, I'm like, oh, that's us, like that. We're part of that, and it's one of the most iconic courses in the world. I mean, definitely here in Illinois, and just to be a part of it is so neat. The only thing that would be better if we got like a membership out of it. That'd be amazing, but that's a stretch.
Actually, when we did that job, I got on the dome. I got called out there from the contractor.
Okay.
And we were doing the dome around there, and it had been all kind of scaffold, not real exotic scaffolding up there. And he calls me out there, and he goes, "Hey, there's something wrong with the tile." And I go, "There's no way. There's no way." And he goes, "You're gonna have to come out here and see this tile and get up and look at it." I go, "Oh, fine, okay." So I scamper up there on the scaffolding, right? And it's whatever. And his crew is right there, and they start jumping up and down on the scaffolding because they were just messing with me.
Oh my
but
gosh.
because it was fine.
Yeah.
And then then the team that we were working with, they go, "Hey, if you want to play a round of golf here, you can." I go, "I would love to, but I would be so embarrassed to go play on that because I'm such a bad golfer."
Yeah.
But it is fun, So those things happen.
Just to be a part of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these things happen with this job. I mean, I'm sure you experience.
I
it,
do. I do. I mean, I
know.
I love golf too, right? So I'll watch a Thursday round, a Friday round, a Saturday round, and I'm looking at TPC Sawgrass. It's like, oh, that's beautiful, right? That club, East Lake Golf Club, another stunning project with a lot of color, ombre pattern. That was a B. Mifflin Hood project that ended up, we matched the tile perfectly when they built the addition. Aronimick this year.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
Yeah. That tile. I mean, it's
That's all Ludowici.
That's all Ludowici. Yeah.
See, I watch all the golf on the weekends. I'll have to start messaging you. Is this us? Yeah, it's us. Is that us?
Yeah. It's well, you need to get the brochure.
Yeah.
I
The
think
golf course
I think
page,
I listed most of them that are there, and we love to compete for those because again, it's the same principle. The members of the club do not want to replace a roof in 25, 30, 40 years.
Sure.
Right? They want to have something that's iconic, that when their members come up, the first impression is, wow.
There's a sense of pride to it. And also with clay, like there's even just like the warmth of it. You could tell it's not faux, it's not fake, it's real, it's earth, and once again, that's not the norm nowadays. So and I think we as humans crave that. We crave authenticity, we crave, real, and once again, that's not necessarily the norm. And so when we see that, we're drawn to it. And that could be in buildings, that could be within people, that could be music, whatever it might be. But when you feel something that's real, we're attracted to it and we appreciate it.
Well, I mean, I say this often to people. The materials that make up clay are earth, water, air, and fire, right?
Oh, cool.
How cool is that, right?
Yeah.
It's the world.
Yeah.
It's the world in a piece of clay.
I think we need to loop in Earth, Wind, and Fire right here.
As
an underlay. Yeah,
get the music going?
I think that's what we need to do. Just flip back over to Melvin. Yeah, I think that's what you got to do.
You can put that in there,
Yeah. Or you can make reference to Avatar for those young kids.
Oh, yeah. We'll do both for both generations.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, Dan, thank you so very much for,
Pleasure.
I cannot tell you how much we appreciate everything you do for us, as a team here in Chicago and our marketplace and all you do for the factory. We really, really thank you so very much.
Yeah. Thanks for being our first official guest on the
that's
podcast.
amazing.
This has been a lot of fun. I mean, this was
That's good. Well, I think there's lessons learned that can be shared with other reps around the country, architects. So I'm excited to hear what the results are and call me any other time that you want me to come and talk. I could talk for days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.